What's up, Victoria? It's me, Victoria, and I have a lot of eyeshadow palettes in my testing drawer. I was talking this through on my Instagram stories the other day, and I thought it might be a great idea for us to do like a swatch party for them. I don't wear a lot of like full eyeshadow palettes. That's not really like my gig as a makeup wearer. It's also like kind of not my real gig as a content creator to be like incredibly focused on eyeshadow palettes. So what I want to do in this video is just kind of like show you what I have, whether or not it's been on camera. Maybe you can help me, let me know what you want to see more on camera, what you want me to test some more. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you also check out the pinned comment down there. I have some links to help some very important causes. So if you have some time, check those out. This is the Just a Taste palette from Unearthed. I've worn this a handful of times on and off camera. This palette is not super enticing to me. I got it to try. It's like a very pretty color story. I think objectively, like I think this color story like really resonates. It's kind of like this grungy rainbow situation that I find very compelling, but I haven't had like the best nor the worst experience using it. I think when it comes to Unearthly, there are people who are very into what they do, and I'm not sure I'm always that target demo, which is totally fine. But I think what they do is very cool. But I found this pretty hard to work with. I'll swatch the mattes and then I'll swatch the shimmers. Why is this? I can't even emphasize how many lights I have on right now, and I feel like it still looks so dark. Here are all of the mattes. I find them like really pretty, but also because they are like more of a rainbow, I don't really know where to go or like what to do. I also have been having this issue with these red shades, these like dark red shades showing up very purpley on me, and that's like not exclusively to Unearthly. There's some other brands I've also had this happen with recently, and like their mattes are fine to work with. I will say I've been more enjoying the purple shades than I have of any of the other shades. I don't wear a ton of green. I was hoping that this would make me like excited to wear green, but it simply hasn't. I will say like these two right here have been what I've worn the most, and this is just a really big palette for me to end up like only really enjoying like two of the shades in full. I think when it comes to Unearthly cosmetics, I'm waiting for something to feel very special to me about the formula, because I think they're really good at presentation. I think they really have that down. I feel like as someone who has been into sparkly indie eyeshadows for a while, these don't add anything that I haven't seen before, and I do think they do like good color stories. Kind of as I was saying earlier, I really only utilize those two purple shades on the bottom. I have things similar to this. I think it's really pretty. I don't know if Unearthly sells singles. I'm not that well versed. Haunted Heart, which is the one that I've been talking about, is really pretty, and I think it'd be worth having as a single, but for me, this whole palette just like isn't resonating, and I just like haven't really loved working with them. It's not like they're bad, it's just like, I don't know, there's just like something like not connecting with me in this palette, and they have other palettes that I might like better, but I really wanted to see if this would get me into it because it really spoke to me as a color story, but like I think more as a color story that I was like, oh, I think that's really beautiful, but I didn't take into consideration it's not a color story that maybe I would want to wear so much, and I think that's really what it's boiling down to. Also, when we look at their shimmery and duochrome multichrome shades, people have different preferences in this, and I tend to like stuff that's a little bit flakier and more textured. Something like this and this, they're not like super sparkly, whereas the shade Haunted Heart is pretty sparkly, and so is like this duochrome. So that's what I'm kind of more looking for out of something when I am turning to an indie brand. So this doesn't really speak to me. And now kind of as we're talking about it and I've swatched it for you, I think that I'm gonna find a new home for this. Unfortunately, I like Unearthly. I always am interested in what they're doing. If you are into like these kind of cool, grungy, interesting stories, I think they do it pretty well. Let's talk about these because some of you might not even know that I have these. So I got some friend mail earlier in the year, and I was sent 3 of these. And if you're not sure what these are quads from the brand GIRLCULT. They're a C beauty brand. These came into my world right around the time that tariffs started getting strange in the US and we weren't really sure what was going on. And so I actually really haven't played with these because I wasn't sure like how accessible these might be to the majority of my audience. And that's not always important to me. So like I just haven't really really spent time with them, and I still do want to spend time with them. Like, I really want to get into them, but I've swatched them a couple of times, and that's really been it. Here is an unfortunate thing. So I think that like each finish of the packaging comes from a different collection. I find that this color story is my favorite. I have goosebumps. I don't know if you can see it on camera. I hate touching this matte packaging so much, but like that's definitely gonna be something that I take into consideration whenever I actually get around to using it. And I know that more people have been asking me for Asian beauty stuff, so this could definitely be a way in. So I'll swatch the quads for you. They're pretty. I kind of, with like unearthly shadows, there is stuff that's really accessible in the US that I like don't know that anyone would need to like go out of their way to try to acquire these, other than the fact that the packaging is very cool. So this is this one right here, and that is this one. I don't know if that's helpful. I don't really see a name, but it's kind of like green on the outside and foiled. Hopefully, if you were interested in this, you'll be able to tell from the color story. But yeah, like it's pretty, but it's also like I definitely have encountered multi-chromes and duochromes like this that I already have. It's really not feeling super special to me, but I haven't put them on my eyes, so I don't really know how they perform. But that's that one. And then we're just gonna go down my arm. The reason that this one speaks to me the most is because of that first shade. Look how sparkly that is. Well, maybe you can't tell. Sometimes when you have more light on your swatches, it's like great because people can see the color. Ooh, I like that color too. It's like kind of like a rosy taupe. See, this is the one that's the most interesting to me. The only thing I don't really care about is that one, but I really love that sparkle and I really want to put it on my eyes. So this is kind of like jumping to the front of the line. I just like hate touching it. And then this is the only one I have that has mattes in it. And oh, sorry, this one is this. Okay, that's it. That's all you get to see of it. Ooh, I can't touch it. Ooh, I hate it. Okay, and then we have this one here, which is, I don't even know if that's helpful as far as like giving you the colorway. It's interesting because it's pretty blue on the outside, and then I would say that the inside's kind of green. But the mattes feel very creamy. Like every time I've touched them, I'm surprised at how creamy they feel. And this is the kind of green that I would wear, like the kind of green I'm into. I don't like that shimmer shade as much, but I like this kind of like taupey green brown and the dark brown. I mean, that green I don't have a ton of use for, but yeah, that shimmer is not as pretty as these shimmers. Like this is so compelling. I don't know why it has to be in the worst packaging though. I mean, it's not the color, it's literally just the touch of the matte plastic. Anyway, that's my GIRLCULT stuff. I feel like they're really considerate with their packaging. Like it's cool, it's interesting, and it's not super expensive. So I have these two, which I'm like ready to like maybe just pass along. These are from GLAMINATRIX and they don't even make these anymore. And so maybe I won't even swatch them because I don't love swatching as it is. These are like the first bit of PR I got from GLAMINATRIX, as well as their liquid blushes. And even though these are smaller than some of the other GLAMINATRIX palettes I have tried, I didn't really get into these, really. I'm not really sure why, because especially like this one is like very my usual MO. And there was a blue and a green one. I already decluttered those, but I kept this one around because I really liked the sparkles in it, even though it is kind of like this plummy berry thing. Also, I mean, just really taking the packaging. It's like this squishy packaging. I don't know. I feel like their 6pan palettes were very considered. The first palette I ever tried from them was the Nocturnal palette, and I did not love the formula at that time. Then I tried these and I liked them. I can make them work. I mostly used this one. I don't know that I've ever put this one on my eyes, but again, I was keeping it around because the shimmers were so pretty. They're phasing these out, and I think the only two that I saw left the last time I was linking to something was the green and the blue one, so I don't even know if you could get your hands on these. The mattes are the thing from them that like leave me really wanting. Like they're fine, but they're not like creamy and delicious to work with. They blend, but like they're not the best blend I've ever had. However, their shimmers are some of my favorite shimmers. They're just really impactful if you're into that sort of thing. Like, look at that. Like, those are the kind of finishes that I really like. So it's really a matter of like putting up with the mattes to get to the shimmers, which I think for most indie brands, that really tends to be the case. I've tried some more recent formulas from them that have been really impressive. And so I think that their formula has improved even since they've done this. Yeah, I think the most recent palette I've tried from them really kind of nailed it. Okay, let's also swatch this one. The name of this one was Elegant Eyes, and this one is called Entrancing Eyes. Because I do live in the United States, shipping from GLAMINATRIX, which I've bought from them a couple of times before they started sending me PR, it just like takes a long time, and that's like totally fine. I'm totally willing to wait. I'm not so sure that every palette that they have released or everything that they release is worth the wait if you live in the US. I feel like if you do live in Australia, I would buy from the brand all the time. Like they would be I really like that shade, because they're like easily accessible to you, and I think they are worth the wait. But there are brands, I think, in the US of similar quality, at least of these ones, that I would go for over those 6 pans. So if you missed those and you were interested in them, I wouldn't worry yourself about it, because those are just fine. But there are some palettes from them coming up that I think are worth the wait, and if you bought them, I think you'd be really happy with them. Okay, this one is very fresh. This is the Dexter collab with Lethal. They did send this to me in PR, and yeah, I haven't played with it on camera. They also offered me a promo code, and the promo code is... So since I filmed this, I was told that I was given the wrong promo code in my email. So my promo code for the Dexter collab only on Lethal Cosmetics is hautemess Tom10, and that only goes until August 30th, however many days there are in August. It's like goes from now until the end of August. So if you had something on the Dexter collab that you were interested in, that code will work for that. But please don't buy until you feel confident that you are, one, ready to buy, and that code I don't think is affiliated, like, so I don't think I'll get a payout if you use it. No worries, it's there to save you some money on the Dexter collab, but hold for thoughts on that in the future. Because it's an older collab, I'll probably just like do a short to really focus on it, but I will follow up in long form. Anyway, so hautemess Tom 10. It was for Dussy. I don't know whose promo code is for Dussy, but I now wish my promo code was still for Dussy. I've been playing with the lip products, but I haven't even touched this yet. Here's the one thing I will say. This packaging is like interesting. I don't know that I love it, because it looks like wood, but it's not made of wood. And I think if it was just made of wood or something more closely similar to wood, I think that it would be really cool. But it's some kind of like overlay. It might be like something overlaid over top of cardboard, which is like fine. It makes it a lot lighter. This would be really heavy if it was made of wood or some kind of like wood byproduct. It opens like this, which already causes me great pain because it's like, where am I storing that? So here's what this color story looks like. They randomly emailed me and they were like, do you want to try some stuff from this collection? And I was like, sure. And it was very generous. They also sent me like a bunch of other stuff that will eventually make its way on the chip. Like they sent me brushes from this collection. Like I have this whole collection. The only thing that I can honestly positively speak about 100% is I've been using the lip oil for a couple days and I really like it. The last time I tried Lethal, I bought Teresa's palette, the first one that she did with them. That's my only experience with the brand so far. Their mattes, like I haven't put these on my eyes, reminded me a lot of Viseart eyeshadows. They're that kind of like very easily buildable and workable, and I think those swatched really well with the finger. So that is promising. It's always promising when you get a good swatch with the finger. Maybe more pigmented than I recall, but the palette that I had is now 4 years old, or goodness. How old is that palette? That's wild. Oh, that shade is really pretty. Oh, so is that shade. Love those two shimmers. I do remember thinking that they're shimmers. Oh, there's some purple in that gray. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, I'm seeing some things in here that I like. I'm seeing some delightful surprises. This is not something I would have bought. I don't accept all PR, by the way, but like I hadn't tried Lethal in a while and I was like, what are we up to? So I wouldn't have bought this palette. Like it's not a color, like we already talked about kind of how I'm not super into reds, but this other part of the palette is very interesting to me. And I just am curious on their formula, especially with these vivid colors. So you'll be seeing red on my eyes shortly. Swatching this though made me very excited to play with it. I know this is like old news in the makeup world, but like, I'm quite excited about it. I have a couple palettes from Trixie Cosmetics. This is the Snow Bunny Lodge palette. Is that what it's called? I guess it's maybe just called the Snow Bunny palette. This was sent in friend mail. It was not PR from the brand, and I did not buy it. The most confusing part about navigating my Trixie Cosmetics collection is like about 50-50 at this point has been PRs or like purchasing myself, but now this is like the fun secret third thing. This color story is like the I don't know. Trixie's eyeshadow palette color stories are always the thing that gets me. And I did use the Teletubby palette. Oh wow, look at that pink. Very blue. They're just like kind of whatever. They're like the least impressive mattes that I have featured so far in this video. I don't know. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like Trixie would be more inventive with her color stories. However, I think like what they need to work on is like better matte formula. And I also think that they need to work on their shimmer formula. And not that this can't be someone's gig. It's just when you're buying from Trixie, and I think this is like a hard thing for them to navigate. Do you want stuff that a drag queen would wear, or do you want stuff that a normal person would wear? And I feel like for everyday, like the everyday person might want something that looks like this, where when I put on makeup, I want to feel a little fiercer than that. And I'm not doing drag makeup, but I want something a little more intense. They're just like not there. I prefer their liquid shimmer toppers, which are really pretty, but I also think that they're kind of like impractical for most people. Even like a liquid topper is a bit of a confounding thing. So I don't know. I think I'm just gonna also pass this one on because I really can't see myself using it. It is cute, and I think that shimmer is pretty, but if I had to like choose between the two that I have, I'm going to pick this one every time. Now this one was sent to me from Trixie Cosmetics, and I like, this is one of those palettes where like I probably will very rarely use it, but it's also like I kind of want to keep it around because I think it's, I don't know, there's like, I'm not even that attached to the Teletubbies, but like sometimes an IP collab that I would never buy, I would never have bought this. Like this is never something that would have been something that would have gotten my money. Sometimes you get them in PR and you're like, wow, that's too cute to like not have in my collection. And that's kind of how I feel about this. And I think that if you watch the video where I tried this for the first time, you'll get the vibe that that is the case, where it's like, I'm really honored. Sexy and sensual judges, I'm very honored to have tried this. Also in a very real way, like it's like not something that I'm going to use a ton. Sometimes I can be tricked into color. I don't know that Trixie's formulas inspire me to play in color. I think sometimes bellabeautebar does a really good job of kind of like tricking me into color. I also feel like the pigmentation on these is kind of like lackluster. I don't know. Sometimes it really comes down to what you're like looking for out of eyeshadow. I remember these working just fine, but also these are kind of like colors that I really wouldn't blend or wear together all at once. So the only thing I would really be doing with this palette is monochrome looks, although that is very pretty, nice and shimmery. I don't know, but like, I don't know. These kind of feel like the quality of maybe like a Hot Topic palette, and not that they like are bad quality, but just like most of the stuff that you would swatch in Sephora and Ulta, even in like the drugstore brands, I think feel more compelling than this shadow formula. Anyway, it's a really cute palette, so I will keep it. I might just move it to my memento drawer because I'm not sure that I even want it to take up space in my vanity, but I don't know that anyone really like, it's kind of one of those, like, again, because it is like an IP collab, it's probably a limited edition palette from Trixie. It's only going to be available for so long, and I don't really care if you can buy things that I love, and I just don't love it enough to take up space in my drawer, and I don't know that my audience in particular is very interested in like this kind of thing, but it was really fun to do a video of it, but that was kind of the extent of it. And unfortunately, sometimes those IP collabs, that's kind of like what they're built for. Here's our first bellabeautebar palette of the video, and this is the Green Goddess palette. And I don't wear a ton of green, so I haven't played with this a ton, but this shade right here is kind of the reason for this season. I have a nail polish called Mint Money from Hollow Taco that kind of just is that shade, and I love it. It has very similar vibes to Skin of a Killer, but just with a little bit of green in it. That's like the only reason I have reached for this palette, is because I want to use that shade all over the lids. But otherwise, this palette is like not my favorite bellabeautebar palette. I think it's definitely going to be someone's favorite bellabeautebar palette. It leaves me just like, I don't know, it's just not a color story that I am going to use a ton. We'll swatch the shimmers. I haven't had any issues with like the quality. The greens weren't my favorite to work with, but I feel like that's kind of just like historically. If you were presenting me with like all of the Bella Beauté Bar color stories, I don't think this is one that I would have been interested in first sight. But I really think that some of the shades in here are really pretty, but pretty and usable or pretty in things that I want to use are two very different things. Although that pastel was leaving some to be desired. I definitely have used that as an inner corner and it worked for that, but I don't know. I feel like also when I talked about this palette, the handful of times I've used it, sorry about that one, but I don't feel like people had a ton of interest in it either. So I think this is going to be okay. I think I'm just going to call it now and find this a new home because I know I'm not going to use it a ton. The girls who do really pretty swatches, I mean girls, when I say girls, I mean gender neutral girls. The girls who do swatch content, I don't know how you guys do it. I hate it. Let's talk about a palette I actually haven't even touched yet, but when I talked about it on Instagram, generated the most interest. This is the Tones of Turd palette, GLAMINATRIX Cosmetics. This was received in PR. If you don't know, there is a version of this palette that isn't poop themed. It's the same tones, it's the same colors. It just has non-poop names. I think it's called the Grounded palette, but they did, when they sent PR, they were like, you could choose. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll pick the poop one. When you look at this palette, this is, again, probably not a palette I would have like purchased. So, and what I mean by that is it's just like this grungy green color story is like pretty dysphoric when I put it on my face. And I think it has something to do with being a color story that was a real big fave of mine early on in my makeup journey. Like I really just kind of loved this. I don't know. And I not that you can't look beautiful with these shades. I like stuff that feels a little more feminine, whereas this is definitely not super feminine color stories. So the layout here, we have matte, shimmers, matte, and of course they have like fun, silly names. So I haven't put this on my eyes yet at all. I haven't even touched the formulas. This formula feels creamier than the 6-pan formula, and they also already look more pigmented. Now, pigmented doesn't always equal better, in my opinion. It really is about the blend. It's a pretty impressive yellow. This is the version of their formula that I do like in their mattes. It just feels like the ones that I have been liking from them. And we'll talk about them again shortly. So those are the mattes. Ooh, can't even get them all in the frame. They look really cool. They look really enticing. They look very yummy, especially that yellow, that baby poop yellow. Not this shade being called Bowel Babe. I like those kind of yellows. Okay, actually, maybe we'll do a poop themed makeup video, which a lot of the colors that I do even wear on my cheeks and lips are kind of poop colored sometimes, especially on my lips. So I think we could do like a whole thing. Okay, let's watch the shimmers. I feel like we've been seeing a lot of this in these palettes today. Not from GLAMINATRIX specifically, but like this color has come up more than once, but ooh, I do love that. This shade looks like neon yellow. It's the Triple Flush in real life, but I feel like on camera it's reading a little more green. Also, like the reflection's more green. And then this shade is very green in here. And then I feel like in the swatch, it's like multi-chrome. I see pink in there as well. Oh yeah, I feel like on camera you're mostly getting the pink. It's very cool. Okay, let me swatch the last one, which is the corny surprise. Yeah, I'm not really sure what color this will be. Probably some variation on green. Oh, it's kind of like keeping it it's kind of keeping like the marbled look. That's interesting. It's like kind of like baby blue with like wait. Actually, you know what's kind of reminding me of? It's not like the same color. It's reminding a little bit of Archway from Cleona. Can kind of not really see in that shade is that it's purple. And then when you move it, you can see some purple, but mostly you see gold. It's like very cool. And that's kind of happening with like a baby blue on top of this like mucky green. That's a very cool color. It's weird looking in the pan though. It's weird. We'll do a poop video. Let's do poop. Let's do poop. My favorite poop colored makeup featuring the Tones of Turd palette. This is an eyeshadow palette that I love. Like, I think just kind of I love in general. Like, this is the GLAMINATRIX Timeless Tones palette. And this is like a very desaturated take. For someone with my skin tone, these work very well. First of all, I do like the layout of this. I have mixed and matched them. I really like them. I like this formula quite a bit. It is like a bit bigger than my favorite size of eyeshadow palette. Of the stuff I've tried from GLAMINATRIX, the mattes are really buttery and blend really well. And that also could be like the level of pigmentation in them, the way that they are a little more akin to my skin tone. Like, I think that has something to do with it for sure. But I've loved like every single look I've done with this. The black is incredible. It's just like, come on. I mean, first of all, it's just like, I don't really love like blues and stuff all the time, but like these are the kind of blues that work for me. But I do kind of like a blue shimmer, like a blue iridescent shimmer. And we have a couple of those. We have like a purple one too. Yeah, we're not going to get this all on my arm, are we? And then this shade Dignified. Every time I open this palette, when I want to do something with it, I have to fight myself not to put Dignified on my lids because it is so, like, that's just the perfect color. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, I think that of the stuff I have tried from GLAMINATRIX, this is the most me palette that I've tried from them. So like, I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. I'll keep it in the testing drawer for the time being. Another palette in the running for palette of the year is this one from bellabeautebar. It's so scrumptious. It suffers from being maybe a little bigger than I'd like, but size wise, I like that bellabeautebar has been kind of sticking to this size. It's a good size. I think we could cut a row from every palette, but that's just me saying every palette. So we'll swatch the shimmers on this one first. There are a lot of shadows in here that are very similar to Skin of a Killer, and they're just like different undertones. And I love that because if you've been here for a minute, you'll know that Skin of a Killer is like one of my favorite eyeshadows. Look at that. Just look at that. So obviously this is like a take on just like neutral / nudie eyeshadows. And I remember getting the email for this and I just saw the palette title. Again, I hadn't seen the inside of it yet. And look at the remnant on my fingers. And whenever I got the email, I messaged the owner and I was like, I like literally can't wait to see whatever that looks like because come on, because it's just, it sounds like it's going to be up my alley. It is. Ooh, I haven't touched that shade yet. Look at that. Do you see the multi-chrome situation happening there? Very pretty. That's a pretty bronze. It's a not, that's actually not very typical of their formulas. This is like a shimmer, but it's kind of got like a creamy feel, a strong base and like a scattered top. Like that's a beautiful one and done. Okay. I want to see what this shade, yeah. Actually, look at it. Oh, there's some blue in that one. Do you see that? Well, hopefully there's supposed to be blue in that one. At this point, it's like some of the shimmers are mixing together on my hands, but like, whoa, that's really pretty. That's that one right there. I've done a short with this, but I'll work it into a regular video. This is something very easy for me to work into a regular video. Oh, I didn't swatch the mattes. You know what? I'm just gonna move along. Here's a palette that I don't even know if I've like used on camera. The thing is, I've been getting a little more PR and because this is my second job, like this isn't my full-time job, I don't have a ton of time to try everything all the time on camera because I don't want my channel to be constantly new makeup videos, but like there's just been a much bigger influx. Anyway, this is Smoky Glam. This is the updated version of the Smoky Glam palette. I don't know if I mentioned this on camera. I know I've mentioned on Instagram. The sad part about this is that it's kind of lost all of the other smoky shades, which were like the grays and the greens and the, yeah, and I really liked that portion of that palette. I still have mine. I did ask on Instagram back whenever this first came to my life whether or not people wanted to see like a dedicated video, and people weren't very interested in that. And I think that's just kind of like the nature of the work that I do on my channel, which is like very different than people who are very eyeshadow focused and their audience would be very interested in the complete differences. Here's what I will say. I think all the upgrades that were made on this palette were warranted. The shimmers are better because like that's an older shimmer formula from them, but the mattes are just as good. And there are some new shades in here that are very pretty. And my favorite shade, I'll just show you, is the shade Hypnotic. And this stains. So I'm going to swatch it here just because I know it stains, but look at that. I mean, pink, blue, purple duochrome situation. It's like what dreams are made of, as Hilary Duff once said. The updated versions of the old shadows, that one's a new shade. They are really gorge. Okay, so there are some swatches of the shimmers in here. Because I really love the original one of this, but I like the shimmers in this one better, I think I'm gonna keep both of them. That's kind of been what I've been thinking. I think that this palette can move out of the testing drawer. I've reached for it a couple of times organically. I think it just came at a time where like I was like in the middle of testing like a million things, and I don't even know. I actually can't remember when it came. But I think it might have come in the latter, like what I've been noticing about my mental health is that I'm like normally okay for like the first half of the month, and then the second half of every month this year, I have slipped into a diabolical funk. And I feel like this palette came when I was in a diabolical funk, and I was like, I don't even know if I want to make content anymore kind of vibe. I'm fully Edward Cullen right now. I don't know if you can tell. Anyway, I think I'm just gonna move this into my permanent collection. I've been much more into pinks and purples lately, and like this is exactly the vibe right now, so I think I'm gonna keep it. This is the GLAMINATRIX Nearly Natural palette, and people love this palette. The first iteration of this palette was very, very popular, and there was a time where I felt very sad that I didn't own it because I was like, there's some club that I'm not included in, and it's because I don't have the GLAMINATRIX Nearly Natural palette. They revamped it, they re-released it. I'm not really sure what was updated because I never tried the original version. And I really thought I was going to love this palette, but I have not really connected to it. And it is like the color story. I was expecting it to be something very easy to throw on, and their Timeless Tones palette has been that for me. Like these are all like grab and go. They all work together in my mind. Like they all go together. There's no problems there. But what goes on in this palette is like not the same. Regular browns you would find in like most eyeshadow palettes, but not really. And that's the point of this palette, is like nudes with a twist. And so like this has a little bit of purple in it, which is nice, and that works really well on my skin tone. I feel like this has a little bit of khaki green in it, and then you have like the green on the bottom. This isn't a dark brown, it's a dark green. And so like I would want to use a dark brown with some of these colors, but then that's not really brown. So like this works, I think, the best as if you're looking at them in duos. I don't know if the brand tells you that, but like that's a duo, that's a duo. I have found that when I try to mix and match, the undertones don't always like really go. And then Naturally and Untouched, actually this palette, I guess I have used enough. Naturally and Untouched, they like turn purple on my lids, which is really confusing because they look red in the pan. And then, but also if you consider them to be duos, this duo doesn't work because this ends up looking really purpley. And then this shimmer is very copper, and there's like nothing cool in it to really like ground it to like the purple. Maybe if you blend it more, it's turning a little more silver, but it looks very coppery. You know, there's like a lot of that orange in it, but I don't know. Here's like the thing with it. There are some really good shades in here. I really like this Smolder shade. I do love a smoky eye, and that's so great. But some of the other satins and shimmers in here, I'm like not as interested in. And I think that you can depot these. If I would have bought this version of this palette, I personally would have been disappointed. The mattes work great. They're not my favorite mattes. I do like the Timeless Tone ones better, but I think that is due to the actual tones of the palette, like the undertones of that palette, just being something that I like to work with a little bit more. But I also like that stripped back shade so much. That's the thing. It's kind of like if this palette was like half of the palette and it was like, no, it's like kind of, I don't know. I don't love all of the shades in it. I just really don't. Let me know if you want to see that more. I think that this is a palette that like once I've decided I'm done with it and I'm done playing with the shades I really like, I think it'll be time for it to go, which is so sad because I was really excited to get this in PR, but it just wasn't the one. Let me swatch Grace next to the other black. I don't think it's as special. It's not. It's a little more blue. I'm gonna miss that shade. And this is one that hasn't received much airtime, but I've worn it in a couple videos. Like I haven't put it on in a couple videos. I just have had it on already. Here is the palette. This is so pretty. I do want to shout out this. There was a palette that they released last year that had neons in it, and I was not impressed with those neons. Other people were, but I wasn't. At least the shade Luminescence has been such a dream to work with and has really made things pop, and I feel like they improved on the neon formula. I know neons are hard because of how much white you have to put in the formula, similarly with pastels, but I feel like they really got something going here. So here's the thing about this palette. This is a palette that I opened and I kind of am a little scared of. It's like pretty intense, right? There's just a lot of vibrant colors happening here, but it's also like why I'm really attracted to it. But it's interesting, I've mostly opened this palette for colorful mattes whenever I have used it. I haven't used it a ton for the shimmers, which bellabeautebar really has excellent shimmers that I really like working with, and I'm now at this point kind of very familiar with them. And like they are so pretty. It's just like this weird like I know it's like ocean themed, but I really get like 80s vibes from this palette. Like I just think it's so 80s. So like there are some palettes I've opened today that like weren't fun, right? Like I didn't find them to be fun when I opened them. This is not the case with this palette. I think this palette is very fun. But what do I do sometimes is how I feel when I open a palette like this. I'm like, but what I want to do with it. I mean, those tones are just so great. I like this blue-green because it is like, you know, a more of a take on the deep sea. Those shimmers are all very pretty. So I think I want to keep playing with it. Let me know if you want to see more of it on the channel, but like I'm not done playing with it yet. Like I have enjoyed my time with it. And I think the other reason I haven't really used it on camera is because it's like, I don't want to say it's a difficult color story. It's just like not a color story that like I navigate with a ton of ease. It's like, I want to get more complicated when I use this. And like, that's like hard to do on camera. I want to play with this more. I'm not done with this. You might not be excited about this, but I still am very excited about it. So I'm going to keep it in my testing drawer for now. That's it. That's the end of the video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Remember to let me know which palettes you are more interested in seeing me apply with on camera. I also was dabbling with the idea of maybe doing 7 looks, 1 palette type videos or something like that. That way it will also entice me to like wear more eyeshadow. Like I love wearing eyeshadow, but I like to keep it pretty simple, and palettes designed to keep it simple or just solo shadows is like really much more my speed. Also, if it's like a more neutral palette, I'm much more inclined to reach for that. So let me know in the comments down below what you're interested in seeing. Would you like to see like a 7 looks or 5 looks, 1 palette? That way I can get more into some of the palettes. And if you do want me to do that, let me know what palettes you want me to do that with first. That's the eyeshadows in my testing drawer right now. I hope you enjoyed this. I know this is like not something I usually do, but I just felt like I needed to get my hands and fingers in some of these just to like show them to you. And also like, this was also helpful because I think I've made some decisions about like what I want to do with some of this stuff. So I can keep it moving. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Remember to check the pinned comment. I'm also on Patreon and I have channel memberships. You can find me over there. I do an additional video over there every single month. I hope to see you there, but if not, that's totally okay. I'm just happy that you're here. And remember to follow your hope and you'll find me, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.